Hello and welcome to Kettle and Bones, where we make really delicious, really healthy food. And you can too. If you're joining me on the 17th day of March, let me wish you a very happy St. Patrick's Day. They say that today everyone is a little bit Irish, so it doesn't count as cultural appropriation, no matter how poorly I do the accent. Welcome to a very special St. Patrick's Day episode, wherein we're not just going to make some regular food and diet green, we're preparing a delicious, keto-friendly, mostly authentically Irish dish that is tasty, nutritious, and satisfying, whether you're making it from scratch or perhaps repurposing some St. Paddy's Day leftovers. If that sounds good to you, let's do this. Today, we're making corned beef cabbage rolls. Let's get cooking. Our corned beef cabbage rolls recipe starts exactly as you would expect, with corned beef. I have here a nice corned beef brisket. I bought this already brined from the store. Could you corn your own beef? Sure. You could buy a brisket and make salty curing brine using mustard seeds, coriander, allspice, peppercorns, and big old grains of salt, although the process does take a while, and if you're watching this on St. Patrick's Day, it may be a little late to start from scratch. I've placed the corned beef, brine and all, into this pot, and per the instructions on the packaging, I'm going to add water to almost cover the beef. We're going to bring that to a simmer over high heat, then reduce to low heat and cover. And that is going to simmer for 3.5 to 4 hours. I'm going to move this over to another burner out of the way, and let's continue with the next step. In another pot, we're going to boil some salty water, and we're going to add some vinegar to it. I'm using red wine vinegar today. Beef, red wine, makes sense. While we wait for that to get up to a boil, let's carefully move that to one side. Easy, easy. And let's work on our next ingredient, the cabbage. We'll be making our rolls using individual leaves, so with a circular cutting motion, let's remove the nub of the stem and the core. Next, this is common with grocery store cabbages. The outermost leaves can sometimes look a little beat up. These have a few rips and tears, so I'm going to peel them off. The rest look good though. Our water has reached a boil, so let's carefully, without splashing, put in our head of cabbage. I'm going to use the colander insert for this pot to avoid splashing. It's okay if the water doesn't completely cover our cabbage. After about 4 or 5 minutes, I'm going to carefully turn this over. You can see the leaves are already starting to loosen up a bit. We'll give that other side another 4 or 5 minutes, and then carefully remove this to drain and cool. I'm just going to set the colander into a bowl for... okay, we're good. I'm also going to save just about a cup or so of this liquid, which is water, salt, and vinegar. It's essentially a quick pickling brine. We'll use it for seasoning a little bit later. When the cabbage has cooled enough to handle, we're going to remove the leaves. These should be really bendy and flexible. If you reach the interior of the cabbage and you find that the leaves feel like they're a little closer to raw than cooked, you can drop any undercooked leaves into boiling water again to get them there. These are good though, nice and floppy but surprisingly strong. The feel that we're going for is almost rubbery. It's rare that a recipe requires us to intentionally cook our vegetables to a rubbery consistency, but in this case, that's exactly what we need for these cabbage leaves to hold our rolls together. The beef is braising, the cabbage leaves are cooked, so let's prepare a few other ingredients that will add flavors and textures. We're going to start by pan roasting some spices over medium heat. In a large pan, to avoid overcrowding, let's add rosemary, thyme, and freshly ground black pepper. It will only take about 30 seconds for these to start smelling like potpourri. It's magical. Once that amazing herby floral smell has filled your kitchen, let's add in some flavor-neutral oil. I'm using avocado oil. And in this blend of herbs and oil, we're going to saute some chopped onions. As soon as the onions start to get soft and translucent, in goes our next ingredient, which is diced turnip. Yes, turnip. The diced turnip will contribute a texture that is really close to potato. By the way, the prep for the turnip is exactly the same as it would be for a potato, just peel, slice, and dice. You don't hear much about turnips these days, but they are a great ingredient to get to know if your goal is to cook more low-carb and/or keto meals. Turnip only contains about a third of the total carbohydrates of a potato, and they contain more fiber, as well as an array of important vitamins and minerals. We're going to let this go on medium heat until much of the moisture has cooked off, that's why we don't want to overcrowd the pan, and there's a good amount of color on everything, and the turnips are fork tender. I want these cooked but still firm in the middle, not too soft because they are still going to spend some time in the oven. Let's continue building our flavors with a splash of our red wine vinegar to help tie this together with our cabbage, some freshly pressed garlic, some shredded carrot, and some peas. I'm going to enhance these flavors with some salt, just a small pinch. The corned beef is going to be pretty salty on its own, and we don't want to overdo it. Finally, just a dash of rubbed sage will impart the flavors of an amazing edible botanical garden. Let's give everything a thorough mix for just about 1 more minute over the heat. And our veggies are done. Let's set them aside. It has now been just about 4 hours since the corned beef began to simmer. Time flies. And our patience has been rewarded with... oh yeah. Using 2 forks, I'm going to pull this apart. Look at that. And the fibers are a little long, so let's cut those across the grain as well, so we end up with shreds of beef that are about 1 inch or so, just a couple centimeters in length. And I'll be seeing you at the leftovers party. We have prepped all our ingredients. It's time to get rolling. Let's get organized here. We have our cabbage leaves, our meat, our seasoned veggies, and I'm also going to use a little shredded cheese. A nice sharp Irish cheddar would be simply grand here, but if you've only got the yellow stuff, that'll do as well. The filling and rolling process is simple. Think cabbage burrito. We start with corned beef, then veggies, then cheese. The roll is easy. Take the nearest edge to you and fold it away over the ingredients tightly, then fold the ends up and roll it the rest of the way. And repeat. Try to roll these as tightly as you reasonably can. You want to avoid having empty space inside. Pockets of empty space give the filling room to shift and settle as these cook, and that will make them loose and folly-aparty. That said, just make sure not to overstuff these either. You must add the right amount of filling for the right-sized cabbage leaf. That's the art form. Finished cabbage rolls go into an oven-safe dish, seam down, packed in snugly to prevent rolls from unrolling. Our dish of finished rolls gets a splash of our reserved cabbage brine, as well as a generous pour of the cooking liquid that was left over in the pot from our corned beef. You don't want to cover these with liquid completely, just about halfway, so they absorb some flavor and moisture, but are not completely soggy. These go into a preheated 350 degree Fahrenheit oven, that's about 177 degrees Celsius, for about 40 minutes. Everything in these is cooked already, so this is just to give all the flavors time to come together, to perhaps get a little color on the top of our rolls, and of course, to melt that cheese. And after 40 minutes, that is just what we get. Toasty tops, look at the color on those. Remember, color equals flavor. And hot, melty, juicy interiors. Let's talk plating. If you want to present these in a semi-fancy fashion, start with a smear of your favorite semi-fancy mustard. I'm using a spicy brown mustard. A whole grain brown or Dijon mustard would be an excellent choice as well. Now, in the mustard, I'm just going to place 1 roll that's been cut in half at a slight angle, with the 2 pieces roughly perpendicular to each other, one leaning on the other, presumably for emotional support. This is a great way to present rolled foods because your diners instantly get a preview of exactly what they're about to eat. And when dinner is as bright and colorful and delicious looking as this, you want to show it off. No green food coloring required. There's a traditional Irish blessing that I think is very appropriate for today. It goes, "For each petal on the shamrock, this brings a wish your way. Good health, good luck, and happiness for today and every day." Stay with Kettle and Bones for many, many more tasty, nutritious, and dare I say, lucky low-carb and keto-friendly recipes. Thank you as always for watching, and may you be blessed with good health, good fortune, and good food. But for now, just enjoy your corned beef cabbage rolls.